Hey guys, it's Beth. I got this sign from Hobby Lobby. It was in the fall section, so it was 40% off. I started by removing the center little plaque and sanding that down. And then I took mineral color chalk paint by Waverly and painted just the front with one coat. And I will be covering this, but I wanted to make sure just to give it at least one coat to make sure you couldn't see any of that remnants from where I had removed the plaque. I then took these 3 oval shapes and textured scrapbook paper, both from Hobby Lobby, traced those shapes out and cut them. I then added Mod Podge to my little sign and my 3 shapes. And then I placed down my scrapbook paper on each of the ovals. And since this is textured, I did not want to iron them on, so I used my heating tool just to dry that Mod Podge, pushing down the scrapbook paper to make sure it all adheres. And then while the Mod Podge is still wet on the sign, I placed down this tissue paper from Hobby Lobby as well, cut off the excess, place down parchment paper, and iron on that tissue paper. Just smooths it out, gets rid of any creases, bubbles, and wrinkles. Then I added a layer of Mod Podge on the top of the tissue paper. Then I made sure to dry that layer and sand off the excess once that was dry. And then I took my razor blade and just cut those lines where it had the grooves in my sign. And then I used my heating tool to just blow off any of the pieces from cutting it. And then took a nail file and went inside those grooves just to kind of push down the scrapbook paper and get rid of any excess pieces on there. I then took these detailing scissors and trimmed up each of the shapes, the scrapbook paper around them. Took mineral chalk paint and just lightly brushed it on the fronts of each of those, just kind of having my paintbrush lying mostly flat, just so it just got the textured raised parts. And I painted around the edges of each of those because you will see them a little bit, and I didn't want any of that unfinished wood showing. And then I took some hot glue, put it on the back of one of my shapes, held the other oval next to it just to get my positioning right, because those two will be next to each other. Got it as centered as possible. Took this little stem from Dollar Tree, kind of angle cut one end of it with my pruning shears. And then that angled part I cut, hot glued in between those 2 shapes. And then the third shape I hot glued to the center of the other 2. Just makes a cute little textured pumpkin. And then I added some Spanish moss to the top of the shapes right below the stem. And then the last thing I did was just took a few pieces of raffia, tied it in a knot, and then cut off the excess just to make a cute little raffia bow, and hot glued that right to the Spanish moss. And that's it for this project. Thank you guys so much for watching.